It was a November morning when I received the call that my new baby boy was being born. It was my second adoption in 10 months. Yes, I said 10 months, but that's a different conversation. This time, however, felt different, as the hospital escort took me the long way around, past the nursery, and dropped me in front of the security doors of the NICU. I had arrived after regular visiting hours with special permission to sleep on a small cot next to the baby. When I entered the room, it was dark and quiet, except for the glow of monitors reading his vital signs and the sound of machines connected to tubes and wires that were attached to his tiny arms and legs. I'm not sure how long I stood there watching him sleep, but at some point a nurse came in and kindly sat me down. The next morning I awoke, the sun was shining through the single window in the room, and it seemed almost immediately, on the hour, every hour, a new doctor would come in and tell me something very important about this baby. By lunchtime, I had learned that the baby had suffered a stroke in utero, more than likely the result of his birth mother's narcotics withdrawal. The prolonged oxygen loss had caused permanent and significant brain damage to the right side. He was diagnosed with epilepsy and cerebral palsy, and it was uncertain whether he would ever walk, talk, or see. Later that afternoon, my adoption attorney arrived, legal papers in hand, and reminded me I hadn't signed them yet. There was still time. I could walk away. Whether I said yes or no, I knew in that moment my life would be forever changed. And the next morning, I left the hospital with baby Urban. By Urban's 9-month birthday, he had an occupational therapist, a physical therapist, a speech therapist, a feeding therapist, and a vision specialist. By his 12-month birthday, his right arm, the one that he could move, had been placed in a hard cast twice to force him to use his left arm, the one he would not move. He wore a brace on his left side to strengthen the muscles so that in the event he ever walked, he wouldn't drag his foot, which is typical of cerebral palsy. Early in our journey, I read an academic paper by Ann Donnellan from the University of Wisconsin. The paper's entitled "The Criterion of the Least Dangerous Assumption," and the basic premise is this: treat every child as though they have a hidden talent. Because if you do the opposite, what if you're wrong? Every child has a hidden talent. Even after Urban took his first steps, I enrolled him in a special needs preschool. It was highly rated, it was private. Urban would have access to the best teachers and specialists right there on campus. The first time I went to pick Urban up after school, I walked into his classroom and I found him tied down to a chair. Now, the teacher had explained it was for his own safety, and to be fair, although Urban's vision was improving, he can still only see what's directly in front of him. Urban's visual range is about a 3x3 or a 4-inch square, and so if he's in a new surrounding and you're not holding his hand, he'll bump into things, and he'll often fall down. The second time I went to pick him up after school and found him tied to a chair, I recalled Ann Donnellan's manifesto. And I immediately pulled him out of that highly rated school, and I enrolled him in a typical school. But that typical school does something that fancy school would never do. They treat Urban like a typical kid. A child that's allowed to try and fail. A child who's not held back and kept on the sidelines of life. At 2.5 years old, Urban was diagnosed with autism. I had suspected this for about 6 months as he displayed very classic signs, including stimming and repeating the same routine over and over again. Of all of the challenges I took home from the hospital, autism was not one of them. And it was by far the most difficult and the hardest for me. With Cerebral palsy and epilepsy, I could deal with my emotions and quickly move on. But with autism, it's multiple emotions on multiple occasions. It's a roller coaster, really, of the highest of highs when your child achieves a milestone, and the lowest of lows when your child suffers a setback, which can occur weekly, sometimes daily. It was a year ago that I was sitting in this audience just like you. That was my introduction to SARC, and it has completely changed our lives. We enrolled in SARC's Jumpstart program and learned that autism is a disability that can become an ability when we unlock the power of early intervention. That autism does not have the power to define my son or my family. Only we have the power to define autism. In just a short period of time, Urban has made progress. He no longer screams inappropriately, but has learned better communication techniques, although he still remains nonverbal. He loves love and can not only ask for hugs, but more importantly, he can give them back. And he'll try anything new for a Cheez-It cracker. When I think of Urban's future, my hope is that friends and family will accept him for all that he is. It's also my hope that society and community will be able and willing to accept Urban and be flexible with their expectations of him. When I met Urban, I was sure that I was going to somehow change him for the better. And what I've since discovered is that Urban has changed me. And with the support of this wonderful community, I'm confident that we'll continue to be accepted and changed for the better. Thank you. We are all here today because we want to make a difference. And this morning, we can. You've heard about SARC's mission, and you know that an investment in them will go towards making a future much brighter for those individuals with autism. You've also heard that we have a new and easy way to support SARC. All you need to do is get out your cell phone, so I'm going to ask you to do that. It's okay now. And as you're getting your phones out, you're going to enter the text to the phone number 41444. Again, that's 41444. And in the text message box, you'll enter the word autism. It is not case sensitive. Again, the keyword is autism. Create a space, and then go ahead and enter your name, unless, of course, you'd like to remain anonymous, and then you'll just leave it blank. Now, once you hit send, you'll get a response back that'll include a link to allow you to fill out your form and complete your donation with either a debit card or a credit card. More importantly, we'll have an opportunity to recognize those here in the room that are committing to SARC's mission statement today. And we'll be able to actually see your name on the screen, as well as make the temperature rise as we see how much money we can raise to really impact the community here in Phoenix. So let's cue up the screens. SARC's board members and all the table captains have already started this pledge. There is something called SARC Multi-Year Giving Society. And for those of you who aren't familiar, it is an opportunity for you not to give just one time, but over the course of several years, either annually or monthly. Generous supporters have already taken this charge, and more importantly, they've given us a leadership challenge. I'm pleased to share that anyone who decides to join the Multi-Year Giving Society today will have their donation matched dollar for dollar. I would encourage you to take advantage and really maximize your donation and your gift today. As we're looking at the screen, I want to just call out and thank you, Lindsay, Alexis, Jessica, Amy, and Kevin, for your generous gifts. And hopefully, I know it's only April in Phoenix, but as the temperature rises, our donations rise too as we look at the thermometer and the difference that we're making today. For those of you that are having trouble with the text message feature, do not worry. There are white envelopes on your tables. And if you prefer to give with cash or check, you may certainly do so. Your table captains are there to help you. Again, a thank you to everyone in this room, Victoria, Emily, Bob and Tina, Nicole and Daniel. We are truly making a difference, and we know that your contributions are going to all of the research and programs that you heard so much about today. As you prepare to leave, I want to personally thank you, but more importantly, I want to ensure that you're walking out of this room with a smile on your face, Sark's gratitude in your heart, and the knowledge of knowing that we can make a difference in autism, not just today, but every day. Thank you.